Good afternoon, everybody. I am Mike Asherbrenner, proud and humble leader of the Hounds of Business, and you are rolling with the Hounds of Business with Mike King Biz, ESPN 106.1 FM. Love rolling with you, Mike King. And hey, we try to bring you the best and most innovative guest, and we've got that today, my friends. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and roll this intro, and we'll get this party started, guys.
Are you looking to grow your network and your net worth with other high-level, heart-centered professionals? Then grab a seat and your favorite beverage and join Mike Asherbrenner, the Redneck Connector. It's time for the Hounds of Business Community Happy Hour.
All right, welcome back, folks, on live stream here. It's Tuesday and sunny where I'm at in a tree in south of Kentucky. And folks in Richmond, hopefully you're having a great day on a Friday morning. Appreciate you tuning in. You can also go to Hounds of Business on YouTube and catch the live stream and get the links to so you can connect with our guest today, the one and only Scot Heathman. Brother, how are you
What
today, man?
what is happening? Hey, hello to Richmond. Hello, Mike King. You're in my heart, man. And man, it's great to see you, Mr. Mike Asherbrainer. How are you doing?
Man, I'm fair to middling. I'm doing all right. Yeah, I was sick for about, a week and a half, 2 weeks, and I took a vacation, come back, and just been sick, like the rest of the world, I think. But I'm doing good. I'm happy. I got people like you in the community push me up, and it's always a good day, brother. So, uh, you tell us a little bit about you. All right, go ahead and you don't have to start at childbirth or anything, but tell us about you. Your military career, very in
Yeah,
depth, very experienced in the military, Air Force, and then kind of where you're at today.
yeah. So I came into the world in 1974, but I'm going to give you a very short version here. Star Wars came out what 1977. That was the match that lit the fire underneath me to say, I want to go fly airplanes for my career. So ever since that point, as a kid, not only was I and still am a huge Star Wars fan, um, I wanted to fly anything I could get my hands on. Um, Ended up going to college on an ROTC scholarship, ended up getting a pilot training slot, and off I was in the United States Air Force and flying mobility aircraft. So you think of stuff like cargo planes. I flew C-17s, and then air refuelers. So imagine like a gas can in the sky. Planes pull up behind us. They say fill her up. That's a KC-135 tanker. That's one of a couple air refuelers we have in the Air Force. But those were the two I flew. And then later in my Air Force career, I spent about 25 years in the Air Force. As an officer, your flying days get kind of limited, so it's time to start getting into those higher levels of leadership. So got a
Right.
chance to lead a combat flying squadron of KC-135s up in New Hampshire with the Air National Guard up there, an active duty unit with the Guard. And then a few years later, I got a chance to command an entire Air Force base, and this is where I currently live, right next to Scott Air Force Base here in southwestern Illinois. And I tell you, as a young 3-year-old watching Star Wars, I would have never dreamed I would be commanding an entire Air Force base. And it was an incredible, rare opportunity to have in the Air Force. And we had about 14,000 people on the base. And then I actually had one more step up with 18th Air Force. I was the deputy commander there, and 18th Air Force oversees 12 different flying wings. So imagine anything that moves in this world via air in the Air Force or in the
Mhm.
military for that matter, 18th Air Force owned the aircraft. So that was an organization of roughly 36,000 people. And,
Wow.
that was the kind of the swan song that kind of took me out the door. And I was like, man, it doesn't get any better than that. I will say I had, one medical hiccup in this career that I wasn't expecting, and that was when I was transitioning from the deputy commander to the command job at Scott Air Force Base. I actually found out after a car accident I had a brain tumor, Wasn't feeling any effects. So we kind of watched this thing, and I obviously had a whole team of people watching me like a hawk. But about 6 months into my command tour here at Scott Air Force Base, things started to go south for me, and eventually had to go through surgery, which I elected to do here in St. Louis. I had an incredible neurosurgeon and a whole team, surrounding me. They got most of it, and then we finished off the rest of Toby. I call it Toby the tumor. Can't stand Toby. We finished off the rest of him with radiation treatments. About 6 months later, I went through about 7 weeks of daily
Wow.
radiation. But yeah, after learning how to rewalk and talk and see and do kind of the basics again, I got back into my job and continued to command, and commanded Scott Air Force Base during the pandemic. So some interesting times, and sometimes you just don't know when life is going to hit you. But Toby taught me a lot. He continues to teach me a lot, and I don't have any regrets. Maybe that's a question you were going to ask me. Do I have any regrets? No, I think this is something completely out of my control, but it was something that taught me some other things about leadership, about life, about resilience that, frankly, I probably wasn't thinking about. And so life is a learning experience. I'm going to take advantage of it.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that because your attitude, yeah, I can't stand it when people say, attitude is altitude. I just want to, knock them on
Yeah,
the head. But you lived it though. Yeah, like you've been through a lot of things, but you keep positive, you keep learning, and it's like that old Rocky quote, right? Hey, life's gonna beat you up. It's not how
yeah,
hard you can hit; it's how hard you can get hit, right? And you have
absolutely.
embodied that. You've done that, and that's why I'm excited. So, you commanding an Air Force base and moving up the ranks in the military, uh, and I met the people who know you. They really admire you. They respect you, with or without a rank, and I think that's rare to me. I mean, it may not be so rare in the military, but it says a lot about who you are as a person and a professional. Countless people just really just love who you are, not just what you do. And I think today, there's tons of people who do something, right? Have our skill sets, have
Mhm.
our experience, but there's only one of us. And
Yeah,
there's a lot to be said for those soft skills, how we treat other people, right? Our mentality, our shared values. And you embody a lot of that people can relate to. So thank you for your service and sacrifice to the country. And also for what you do for the Hounds. You've been a Hounds member for a long time. Positive force there, pushing up a lot of folks in other places and all across anywhere you go. And I think that's awesome. So tell the folks. So you have a business, right? And your brand is Command with Courage, right? Which is spot on. It's even got the little Jedi for folks in radio lands. Got the little lightsaber and picture. Uh, but what is it now that you do? Why start an organizational leadership consulting business? Because you don't have to do anything, right? You're retired. And chapter two. What prompted that?
yeah. It was interesting that I had the name of the business in my head probably the last year or so before I left the Air Force. But before that, when I was a deputy commander at a base called Fairchild Air Force Base in Spokane, the commander there, when I got into the seat, he said, "Hey," he goes, "I know you're very much into leadership and development. I had a master's degree from Gonzaga University in organizational leadership. I actually have two more master's degrees from the Command and General Staff College and the Navy War College. The one of the concentrations at the Navy War College was all about senior leader development, and it kind of reinvigorated me again about how important it is to not only grow and develop your people, but also yourself as a leader. And
Right.
that year, I had an opportunity to do a lot of that kind of self assessments, introspection, growth before I went into this senior leader job where I'd be responsible for continuing that. And so my commander said, what if I sent you to emotional intelligence training to get certified, and then you come back and teach courses from time to time? Obviously, it's not my full time job. This is kind of like a side hustle, if you will, for the Air Force, but it was to train the men and women at Fairchild Air Force Base. And I said, I think I would love that. And went through the training. This is not training that the Air Force developed. This is training through another company. And once I got certified, then me and one of my colleagues on the base, we would do co-facilitation, about 40 to 45 airmen, civilians at a pop. And we just started doing as many courses as we could, or as, time allowed. If I couldn't make it because of my senior position, she would obviously take it. But I like to do as many as possible, because it also showed that, hey, if this is an important skill set, well, if the vice commander is willing to stand up in front of us and teach it, this must be pretty important. So, you
Right.
model what you want them to become. And I just fell in love with that subject, and that those skills and the things that you look at when you look at into emotional intelligence strategies. Because it starts with self-awareness, but the goals are always to develop relationships with the people you work with. And oh, by the way, this stuff also pours into your home, right? So, because you don't just
Right.
show up to work and not bring home with you. So that kind of started the journey back in I'd say about 2017, 18, about, I think I could do this for a second job or a second life someday. And that's kind of what I leveraged, was how much I enjoyed watching people have that aha moment. Like, that's
Right.
like my high, is watching other people just go, oh, I wish I would have had this 20 years ago. It's okay, but I'm glad we're here now discovering this, and you can do something about it, right? So that turned into a consulting business for me, which I do still to this day. I do probably the bulk of my work is in facilitation. So a company may hire me to come in and talk about certain subjects based on their needs. I like doing the customized work. I feel like I'm a custom car guy. You tell me what you
Right.
need, and I will build it. I don't have a lot of, like, let's just pull it all off the shelf. Like, I like the custom work, because I feel like it gets a little bit more intimate to the organization. um, I love the coaching bit. I do a lot of executive coaching, and that's something that I really enjoy, working with people, see where we can evoke some awareness, and some
Right.
potential answers that are actually inside, but they're just not thinking about. So, and then I do some speaking. I'm writing a book. I'm doing a lot of other things too. But, if you check out my website, you're going to see, hey, I got a little bit of everything to offer. But there's not a lot of people like me that have been in my position, that have seen the things in life that I have seen, that have been through the things in life that I have been through, that are in this career field. So I do feel like I bring a little something different, and there's probably not too many that are going to show up with a freaking lightsaber, maybe at training or something
Yeah.
like that either, right? So,
No, no, they're not. And I appreciate you sharing that because you walk the walk, right? You've been there, you've been through life's challenges, and you learned and grew through them. And you're not cookie cutter. You're looking
no,
to
I
figure
don't.
out, hey, like a medical doctor, right? You could diagnose the problem. What's going on with this leadership, or, this department or whatever, and then come up with a customized, winning game plan to fix the problem or to move forward. And
Yeah,
you've done that. I mean, you ran an Air Force base, for Pete's sake. Like, yeah, you could help most companies and scale ups and mid cap and large companies. And I've seen you at work. So real quick, we're gonna take a time out to give Mike King a shout out. You are rolling with Mike King Biz Radio, Hounds of Business Presents. I am your host, Mike Asherbrenner. Hey, no strays out there. If you're a heart centered, high level professional and you're looking for your tribe, hey, look no further. Check us out on YouTube, Hounds of Business, LinkedIn, Hounds of Business, and or you can send a carrier pigeon, whatever's better. So appreciate you guys in Richmond. We're here with the one and only Scot Heathman, retired colonel from the U.S. Air Force. And go to his website, everybody. It's elevatingOthersLLC.com. elevatingOthersLLC.com. No silly spelling, just like it sounds. And we are back with you. So let me ask you some questions. I want to get people to know
yeah.
that you know your stuff, right? So what kind of tensions are you hearing about, from younger managers and leaders? What kind of challenges and frustrations and stress are they, really experiencing nowadays?
You know, there still is a lot of issues with engagement at work, and Gallup's recent numbers haven't really changed a lot. You're almost seeing about 75% of employees that are either disengaged or actively disengaged, like they're actually doing things to disrupt the organization. And that's a scary number. And so the challenge for, I think, young leaders, especially ones that haven't been in a position like that before, maybe they've read some books on leadership and things like that. But when you're in the hot seat, it's a different it's a different problem set, especially when you're leading potentially peers, people that are right at the same skill level, but you've just been ordained as the department lead or whatever it may be. Um, I'm hearing problems of communication. I'm hearing problems of motivation. I'm hearing problems of I don't have time. So time management, but maybe at times it's the wrong word. It's an assessment of priorities, not
Yeah.
taking stuff off the plate when you're going to add stuff to the plate. And probably the biggest one is a misunderstanding of just each other's needs, between the supervisor and a subordinate, let's say, or a direct report. So often, and I offer this tip to you all out there because it's such an easy thing to do. I take a lot of folks through a simple exercise. I call it my paper plate drill. I get 3 paper plates. So if I sit down with a direct report and I say, okay, on paper plate number 1, what is a goal that we're both working towards, the both of us? Like, you need me to, and I need you to get after what? We write that on paper plate number 1. And then I ask them, I want you to write on your paper plate number 2, what do you need from me as your boss or your supervisor to meet that goal or to get after that project? I, as the leadership or supervisor, whatever, do the same thing on paper plate number 3. What do I need from them to get after that goal? And then we exchange paper plates. We start talking about this. And it's funny that, I would walk around and see people have their paper plates, pinned up to their cubicles, but that's a good thing. And anytime we had feedback or we saw each other in the hallway, say, hey, have your needs changed at all? Those small conversations that can take all of 5 minutes. I just described it in about
Yeah.
30 seconds, right? But you hear people like, well, I don't have time for that. Really? You don't have 30 seconds, 5 minutes for your direct report? Are you kidding me? Um, you
Yeah.
know, you're going to spend hours on the problems you're building after it if you don't address it up front. So um, I'd say we need to lean in more to talking and communicating with each other, not via email, not via text, good old fashioned, get on the phone if they're remote, get on a Zoom call, even better if they're remote, or let's get face to face and let's sit down and hash some of this out. And oh, by the way, this stuff ain't static, right? It lives, it breathes, it
Right.
changes. So you have to revisit it. And I think those are some of the things that young leaders and managers, they don't understand wholly what it does take to lead people.
Yeah. No, here's what I hear you saying. It's not that people want to promote a negative culture. It's not that they want these kind of, miscommunications and problems that they have to put all these fires out. They just can't see the forest from the trees, Scott.
Yeah.
Right? And you, an outsider, can come in and objectively say, "Hey, not only here's the problem, but here's some ways to solve this problem as a unit, as a team." I mean, dadgummit, Air Force. I mean, like if you could do it there, you definitely could do it in a corporation, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to go to work and have a bad day. I mean, it's just common sense, right? So that's a lot of value, and you have a big fan club. Holly's here, Holly Paul, uh,
It's so
Tim
great.
Duff,
Shaman is here. Good to see you,
Shema.
Shaman.
Yeah, brand new hound, brother. Hey, Oli, tons of people here because you have. And let me give a real shout out because here recently I run businesses, couple businesses in a community, obviously. And we had a talk. You coached me personally. And then I did the unthinkable. I was sick and I said, you know what? Tomorrow can wait. I rescheduled everything for the Friday. And guess what? I was able to do something, help out another organization unexpectedly that I couldn't have done if I didn't clear that calendar, take care of myself, and opportunities exploded. So, hey, if you're coachable, hey, Scott Heathman can help you. If you're not coachable, well, nobody can help you. But I just wanted to give that testimony because that was a big deal to me. It was really hard for me. I knew I should, but I needed the at the time I needed the affirmation. I needed the encouragement from somebody that I respected. And here's what I did, guys. I hung up the phone and said, if this guy can run an Air Force base and play with Legos, what's my excuse? Like I have to do these things because if I'm a stressed out, unhealthy leader, the community is going to go, down south, right? So I just want everybody to know that, hey, you're the real deal. I appreciate your insights and all these folks popping up. Hey, they're saying the same thing. So let me ask you another question because man, this show
Yeah.
goes fast when you're having fun.
Oh, it
Um,
totally does.
too fast. So, leadership, you have a long history in leadership, man, a couple decades, right? So don't want to age you, but hey, that's good. We want experienced
Yeah.
leaders, right? So
Yeah.
how how have you seen leadership change in general over the years?
For leaders don't grow by themselves, right? So there's a big part of, whoever's around you, who are the leaders above you at the time, that's all kind of feeding into your growing operating system as a young leader or manager even. So you're certainly learning through osmosis a lot. And I think what I was picking up early on, especially in the military, I'm just going to speak from a military lens here for a second. It probably wasn't too different in the corporate side. It was a little bit more of an autocratic kind of directive style of leadership. Hey, I just need you to go do this. Don't think, don't ask questions, just go do. I need doers to get the job done. Um, Not that there's anything wrong with that, but what I've seen probably shift over the last 20 years is this people are learning that some of the best leaders out there can operate between 4 or 5 different leadership styles. So again, it's not that an autocratic or directive leadership style is bad. It just may not work 100% of the time for 20 years in one organization. You may need to be hands off, laissez faire at times. You may need to be democratic at times. You may need to be servant leader at times. There's pros and cons to them all, but it's situationally dependent. And if you can fine tune, understand when and where to use these, you're a really good leader. And I think it's Simon Sinek that said this, like leadership is about managing cortisol levels, right? Levels of stress. When people are maxed out with cortisols because they're stressed, that cortisol has been built up in their body. They can't think, they can't operate, they can't make good decisions. Performance goes down. And when you start looking at employees from a performance lens, like they're an athlete, I think something shifts in the way a leader thinks about how to develop them. Because when we just look at them as a number, it's too easy to dismiss that, well, they just lack development, or maybe they could use a pat on the back, or maybe they could, use a little bit of a break because, we've been driving this organization too hard for too long. So we have to start looking at performance as not a weakness area here. It's actually deadly serious. And the funny thing is this has a direct correlation to bottom line. If you want me to help you make money, I'm going to focus on how to get more performance out of your employees. That's it. And it starts with culture. And that is the leader's
Yeah.
responsibility, you know?
Right. When we've talked about this before on the other shows, just because, well, I don't want to do that. I'm not into this hokey stuff. Listen, this is bottom line stuff.
Mhm.
This is not swimming upstream and drowning, right? This is what you're talking
Yeah.
about. This is not just happy people, but increased revenue. Decreased retention costs, right? Losing employees, blah blah blah, and accelerating the organization. It's common sense ain't common anymore. So let me do two things while we only get a few minutes. I want folks to know again, folks in Richmond, Radio Land, go to elevatingothers.llc.com. Check out Scott Heathman's website. Also, you have a book coming out, right? So
I
tell us
do.
about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, so this one is going to be about Toby the Tumor. It's a story of resilience called "Command with Courage: Elevating Beyond Adversity." And what this book's aimed directly at is for those people that get stuck when they're faced with a challenge or adversity. and it doesn't need to be a brain tumor. Obviously, I pray every day. Nobody else has one of these, but um, adversity could mean, maybe a relationship that ends in a breakup. It could mean a job that doesn't end well. It could be anything in life. But what I don't want people to succumb to is victimhood, getting stuck and looking backward.
Yes, sir.
I want to be able to provide what I've learned and how I was able to move forward. Because remember, after my surgery, I couldn't walk, I couldn't hardly talk, I couldn't see very well. I'm permanently deaf in my right ear. I was incredibly unstable from a vestibular standpoint. A lot of things were not working that I had to redo, which I took for granted. Like, oh my gosh, I'm like a child again. I just had to relearn through a lot of therapy
Wow.
and get back on the horse, right? Um, I didn't. That doesn't happen alone. I don't do that stuff alone. So even as the commander of an Air Force base, you need help. You need help from all kinds of different sources. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel bad and have a really crappy day, but you got to find a way to also, okay, how can I continue to look forward and move forward? So that's what this book is about. And if it affects somebody positively and helps them get unstuck, boy, then it was worth writing. And I'm hoping to have this finished up by the end of the year, or first quarter next year. But that's kind of the time frame I'm aiming for a book release.
Yeah, I can't wait to read it. And everybody knows I don't read. I have other people read to me or give me a summary, but I can't wait to read this because I know who you are. It's impactful, and again, we have skills, we have these things, but oftentimes, and we're human, and we get twisted up, and we lose our way, or we don't know which way's up. And you've been there multiple times. You had to relearn how to walk for Pete's sake, right? And then go back to commanding Air Force Base. So it's not just the head knowledge, it's the know-how, the experience, and the hard attitude, because you truly care about people, and that's what matters most. You care about the leaders, the employees, everyone in the organization. And that's evident right through the comments, through the folks who always speak highly of you. And I don't know about you, but as a leader, that's who I want on my team. I want somebody I can count on, who doesn't run when things are hard, and who is invested. And you go above and beyond, right? If there's a big challenge, you're going to figure out a way. There's no, well, we'll get to it later, or we tried. Right? We're going to find a daggone way. And that's what people like about you, Scott, among other
I
things.
appreciate that.
So let me get to this. Hey, it's truth. I don't say stuff I don't mean, right? But when I see good things and great things, not just me, other folks outside, inside the Hounds of Business, you've made a huge impact in a lot of good things. So we want to make sure if there's companies out there who are trying, not just struggling, but they're trying to go to the next level, right? They're trying to scale up, maybe branch out a product launch. You got to check it out. Elevating leaders. I'll get it out. Porky Pig. Elevating others. LLC.com. All right. Thank you. See, he's so graceful. All right. So let me ask you this last question. We got 2 minutes.
Yep.
Now that you spend time outside of the military for a while, what's your perspective on challenges facing organizations?
Um, Probably the number one difference I saw coming out is the fact that they're not as tight knit, connected as a military unit would be. So, I came from a very tribal, uh, career path here. As soon as I put on a uniform, I was part of the team, right? When you take off that uniform and go into corporate America or business for yourself, whatever, there may or may not be that same level of tribal connection. You're instantly part of the team. You're all, that's missing. And I know there are a lot of companies and business out there that do amazing at this as well. The ones that struggle with this, you either need to go spend some time with the ones that are amazing at it, or hire a veteran. I'll just be blunt, because we actually
Yes.
understand. Hire a first responder, hire somebody that's worked in more of a tribal atmosphere, and pick their brain, buy them a cup of coffee and say, what did you guys do to have, when you onboard new people, how did they become instant loyalists? Yeah, there was still a little bit of time to build trust and all that. I get it. Everybody's different, but it was so much easier in the military to move from one unit to the next and instantly be part of the team.
Yeah.
It's much harder. So these are, again, I think, areas of culture. You can't just hang stuff up on a wall and say, well, we all believe in this. Well, do you really? Have you asked the questions directly to the people? Maybe they don't like the teamwork poster on the wall. They would rather have something else that is more representative of the organization. So you have to get out, walk around, and you have to get down to the frontline employee. Reverse mentoring programs are brilliant for this. Have them talk to senior leadership instead of senior leadership always talking down at them. So that's probably the biggest difference I have seen getting out of the military, and ways that maybe you could tackle some of this.
Hey, if you want more, you got to go to elevatingotherssllc.com. Follow J. Scot Heathman on LinkedIn. He's everywhere, guys. Hey, appreciate you. I know folks want to know more. We're going to have you back soon as possible. We got other shows we're going to put you on. But you're right. I came from firefighting, right? You could lose a lot more in your daggum job. So there's a different level and understanding of cohesion and belonging and getting things done that you just don't find typically elsewhere. So you bring a lot to the table, Scott. Thank you for your time today. You're
Hey,
awesome.
thank
Hey,
you.
my pleasure. Hey, Mike King Biz Radio, all the great folks in Richmond, all the folks on the live stream today, we appreciate you. Hounds of Business. Hey, it's just, don't go at it alone. Have courage before confidence, right, Scott? That's what it's
Hey,
about, brother.
absolutely.
So I
Absolutely.
appreciate you guys. We'll see you back next week. We have April Wyatt on. That's a special treat. So have a great day. We will see you next Tuesday live stream. Hey, next Friday on the air, guys. Have a great one. Thank y'all for stopping by. Be sure to follow, share, and like, and send me a message if you had fun today. Y'all come back now.